Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And we are live today with AJ Yawn. AJ is an Army veteran and co-founder and CEO of ByteChek and 2020 LinkedIn Top Voice.
Yes,
awesome.
Sir.
That's a lot of stuff. Thanks for joining us today, AJ.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mike. This is an awesome conversation. It's weird to hear those things as my title, but I'm getting used to it more and more. But it's great to talk.
Yeah, I know. Who would have thought 2-3 years ago that we would be having this conversation, right?
You're right. No chance. You could have made me place a big bet, and there's no way I would have taken that this would be going on.
I felt the exact same way. So I guess let's start from the beginning. So you got a degree in social studies, right?
Yeah.
Athlete in college, and then you joined the Army.
Yep.
How did all that get from there to today?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a windy journey, especially at the college time frame. And I went to Florida State University to play basketball. Grew up in Southern California, down in Camp Pendleton, where my dad's a Marine and served for 20 years and retired as a gunnery sergeant. So that shaped every decision I've ever made. Is being raised by a Marine has helped me out a lot in life. So I went to Florida State, ended up having a few injuries that caused me to end up losing my scholarship. And I didn't want to go back to California. I wanted to finish the goal of graduating college. I was going to be the first person in my family to graduate college. So I was like, I want to do this. And I knew about the military because of my dad. So I said, hey, I'll just go join the military. And I went and signed up for the National Guard and didn't tell my dad anything. And he said, hey, man, what are you doing? Why did you just do that? He was like, you need to go to the ROTC spot. And I was like, what's that? And he just explained to me, got me. And so I ended up going to ROTC, commissioning. I was a social science major, but I think I had 8 majors at Florida State. Went from accounting to social science. And it really, at the end, it was just what can I do to graduate on time? That was the only goal. And in the Army, I was a signal officer. So I was a battalion S6 for most of my career, worked in the information security capacity. I say capacity because I had a boss a battalion commander, who told me if it plugged in, it was my responsibility. So he thought the lights were my responsibility, his radio, his iPhone, his iPad on a Saturday night when he's at his daughter's recital. Everything was on the table. Spent most of my career at Fort Bragg. If anybody listening has been to the center of the universe, you know what Fort Bragg is like. So in the Army, did information security work, both overseas, deployed. And when I decided to get out, I realized I had to learn more about civilian technical side.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew there was a huge opportunity for me to do well, for me to take care of my family, and I had to go all in on it. So I spent a year before I got out collecting every certification known to man. And I regret that because I should have focused a little bit more on some specific certs now that I know what I know, and I should have been on LinkedIn. But I was just doing whatever I could to get into the field. Luckily landed a job as a cybersecurity compliance consultant airborne. While I was a cybersecurity compliance consultant, I just got lucky. I always tell people this, I went to a compliance firm that was growing. When I joined, there's only 9 of us in this practice. And we grew it to well over 130 when I left. So I got to grow with it. I was there in the early days when we were working with nothing but startups, into the bigger days when we were working with big companies. So it was a great learning experience. And while I was there, I said, why not go start a company?
Okay, we paused before the company part.
Yeah.
I want to clarify something. You said you got lucky. Would you have gotten that job had you not spent that year getting all those certs?
No chance.
Before getting out.
No chance.
Right? So that's what I want to make sure people understand. Like, you say you got lucky.
Yeah.
But luck is really just hard work and opportunity.
Correct. 100% sure.
And the Army didn't let you just take full days during your last year as an S6 to go do those certs. That was nights and weekends, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They paid for it, I'm assuming, right? So, which anybody could take advantage of if they're still in. So, all right, great. So you got this. You said it was a cybersecurity compliance job?
Yep, I was a consultant essentially. Traveling around, going to client sites, talking to them, helping them. My focus was helping people set up secure cloud environments. Right. So I started learning about the cloud, and I just thought it was amazing. I was like, wow, you can do so much, you can learn so much, and I just started digesting, and I'm kind of obsessive of things, you know, when I learn something, I get excited, I go all in. And I just was like, Amazon Web Services is going to be my thing. I'm going to learn all about the cloud. And I just studied and studied and studied and got more hands-on experience and was able to really carve out a niche at my last firm under AWS and helping people set up secure cloud environments. And the whole time while I was there, I realized two things. I realized that the compliance process, it sucked. For both me as an auditor, for the clients, everybody. It just was a terrible process. So that's what ByteChek is. That's why we launched ByteChek, to make compliance suck less. That's our tagline. And it's just, we want to take out a lot of the heartache associated with it. And a lot of it comes from me in my military days. Even when I was an S6, I would just try to figure out how to do things better and faster, especially being at Fort Bragg. You know, everything's really lean and you're trying to move fast. It's just a really high speed environment. So you had to work at a high speed level and say, hey, how can we do the same thing, but a lot faster with less people? And that mentality I took with me into cybersecurity and just helped out a lot.
And I think that mentality helps a lot of entrepreneurs. Veterans become successful entrepreneurs because you could find your way around hurdles. You can, start to think of innovative solutions to problems that you see. And then we have the network to kind of get that off of the ground. And I want to get to that in a second, but can we go back for a minute to compliance? And I love the tagline, sucks less. And my previous job being at EY, we dealt a lot with audit, compliance, and everything else like that. But can you explain what, in yeoman's terms, what compliance for like cloud environments and everything else is? Yeah,
absolutely. So when we say compliance, what we're talking about are companies out there that do business with other companies, so business to business companies. They are generally asked by these other businesses, hey, are you secure? If I use your product, if I put my customers' data into your product, is it going to be safe? Are you going to get hacked? Are you going to get breached? And the way that these customers prove that they're secure is through third-party audit reports, where a third party comes in and evaluates their systems. And what we focus on in most cybersecurity compliance assessments, it's not just tech. We're not just looking at your cloud environment. We're looking at your onboarding practices, your legal documents, your vendor management, the whole aspect of your organization. So if you've ever joined a company, you've probably completed security awareness training, confidentiality agreements. All of that is stuff that we check in audits. It's things that we make sure that people are doing. And we write up a report that essentially says this system that you're using is meeting these requirements. Just a true kind of, I don't want to call it a checklist because that's the reason why compliance assessments are looked down upon now. It's a check the box exercise is what people think it as. But you are just going out and assessing someone against a set of requirements to come to a conclusion of whether or not they met those.
I love it. So it's kind of like an IG inspection or a staff assistant visit, where somebody comes down and they assess your ability to do your job right in compliance with laws, regulations, best practices, stuff like that. And I'm guessing your time as an S6, kind of made you prepared for some of that, kind of got the mindset right.
Yeah, when I actually applied for the job, when I first got out, I related a lot of my activities as an S6, especially at the unit that I was in. I had to do constant checks with the batteries. I was in an artillery unit. So I'm always down at the batteries. I'm always down there trying to figure out what's going on and making sure that they're doing the right things. And I told my bosses that I was interviewing with, I was like, I don't know what SOC 2 is, but I have done similar things. And I use IG as a reference because I went through a ridiculous amount, especially on Fort Bragg, IG audits. The only difference is now the IG audits weren't really voluntary. They weren't something that you got to opt out of. In the civilian side, these companies are choosing to do this and they're paying a lot of money to do it because there's business value. Because when they get these reports, their sales team can go close deals. They can go say, we're secure. We have the most secure system. We're better than our competitors. So there's a lot of money on the line for these companies to get these reports, which makes it cool for us because that's the biggest thing that I wanted when I got out was purpose. I wanted to have a job that gave me the same level of purpose that I had in the military, and doing these reports and working with people to establish secure environments does give me that same sense of purpose. So you work as and number one, I see the value. The moment you explained what it is, I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to talk to him about my company. So that's a whole other discussion down the road. It's crazy how the world works. But you come in as a consultant, you start consulting for this company where business exploded. I mean, you got in at the right time. Cloud really takes off. I'm sure it's still exploding right now with everything being virtual. And
you're a consultant for them, very successful growing your own practice. I mean, growing their practice.
Yep.
What made you say, I don't want to work for somebody else anymore. I want to pivot and do my own thing?
Yeah, the main thing was impact. I realized that I was in the military. When I first joined the military, I'm trying to get everybody to join the military in my family. All my friends, I'm like, hey, this is great, man. It's a great place for you to grow and learn. Got out of the military, I'm like, cybersecurity is huge. You know, you can come in here and you can do all these things. But I realized as an employee, it's tough to sell that. I didn't have any power to, I was a hiring manager, so I was hiring people, but I wasn't the final decision maker. I wasn't, at that level to where I was calling the shots. And so I wanted to see, what could I do to make a bigger impact on my friends and family out there. But also I realized that I kind of reached my ceiling pretty fast at a consulting firm. I became a principal consultant. So if anybody knows kind of the structures there at consultants, I had no more promotions. I was all out of promotions there unless I would have been named a partner, which wouldn't have never happened because I'm not an accountant. So, I was like, you know what? I've reached my level. I've started to get a little bit bored, and I'm not great at anything when I'm bored. I'm a terrible everything when I'm bored. So I realized, there's a huge opportunity out here. And the only thing that could happen is really the conversation I had with myself. I was like, what could happen? Like, oh, it doesn't work out. But what does that mean? That means for 2 years, you got a ridiculous amount of experience. This past year being an entrepreneur, there's no MBA program in the world that could teach me what I've learned in this past year. So it really was just like, you know what, why not? You're at this point in your life, you've saved up enough money, you put yourself in a position to be able to take a significant pay cut to do something like this. Why not give it a shot? And the biggest thing that I want to do is like have regret minimization. I don't want to look back in my life and say, I wish I would have done something. So I just gave it a shot in the middle of a global pandemic and decided that, I was going to give this, I felt like I accrued enough knowledge too. That's the most important part. I think entrepreneurship is really glamorized. It tells everybody's like, hey, you should do it. But it's like, you should get some skills first. Make sure you know what you're doing. Don't just jump in, because there's a lot of landmines that I didn't know about 3 years ago that I know now because of those years of experience as a consultant. And that's valuable time. So I found a problem. I knew there was a problem with compliance. I knew there was a better way to do it. And, once I found that, once I thought of the solution, I'm like, the only thing I have to do now is just go out and implement it and go out and execute, which I did. And
so what does ByteChek do differently when you talk about your solution, making it suck less? What did you guys do?
Yeah, there's two things. One, the biggest aspect of these compliance assessments that sucks is the evidence collection. You have these auditors come in and say, I need 200, and they give you a 250 line Excel sheet and say, give me all this documentation for these 250 items. And nowadays we can log onto our phone and use Google to sign on to like 7 apps. So that there's ways to connect things. You know how to do it on your phone. So it's like, why not do that in the audit space? And the audit space has been notoriously slow when it comes to innovation because it's audit. And unfortunately, my co-founder is an accountant, so he won't take offense to this, but there's accountants behind it. Accountants don't move fast. It's not something that they're known for. So it's a little bit slower to pick up from the innovation standpoint, but it's picked up over the last few years where a lot of software companies have decided, you know what, there's an opportunity to fix this and to automate some of this stuff. And that's what we do is we automate the evidence collection process. We connect directly to where all the evidence lives. So we connect directly to AWS. We connect directly to your code repos, your ticketing systems, your HR tools where you're onboarding people. We connect to those tools so that your team's not worrying about collecting evidence. Your team's able to have a conversation with your auditors, and your auditors are actually able to be advisors and not just check the box guys that are just going through and doing it.
So you guys are remote accessing the files so you can look through them and get a real picture without having to go to someone and say, hey, can you get me this? Can you get me that? Can you get me this?
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
And I like that you said real picture, because that's the key. Is in these manual audits nowadays with the cloud environments, they're so big and so wide, it's impossible to get all the data you need that you can be comfortable saying that they're secure. But technology enables you to do that. The way that we assess folks on AWS is we see all of your resources. We see everything that's going on, and we assess it according to AWS security best practices. There's no way I could do that by myself. It doesn't matter how great of an auditor I am. It's just impossible. So technology is plays a huge role in our platform. And the second thing is our expertise with us is all of the other of our competitors out there, they're making great products. They're doing very well, but we're the only founding company that actually used to be auditors. And my co-founder actually wrote the SOC 2 guide. So that's essentially our standard operating procedure for SOC 2. He worked with the AICPA to write that. So our expertise comes out in our product. It comes out in our conversations because we didn't just go through a SOC 2 and say, wow, this was terrible. Let's go build a solution to fix it. We've been through 500 of these and we've seen them over and over and over again. It's kind of like just being in the military. I was an S6 when I was a second lieutenant. And then I went to go be an XO and platoon leader after that. And I came back to be an S6 again as a captain. As a captain, as an S6, there was no situation that I got into that I didn't already like, oh, this is easy. Every time. And like that was, by the time I was in the S6 shop, then that was my 3rd battalion commander. So the battalion commander's problems I've already seen before. And I know exactly. So that's the same way it is for us with SOC 2. So we sell on our expertise as well. We've seen it all. We kind of know what you're going to expect. So we've already anticipated some of that stuff. And our platform helps automate a lot of the process from collection all the way through reporting for the actual auditors.
So how did you meet your co-founder?
He actually joined the company that I worked at the same exact time that I started because they acquired his company that he was at. So we started together. He was one of the 9 in that small practice with me. And we fortunately worked on the same project. This is the beauty of consulting, in London together. Not a bad place to go to work, right?
Throw that out there. I mean, come on. I never got sent to London.
Yeah, it was. That's the thing about consulting, and I guess in this new remote world that I definitely do miss is the traveling was awesome. And we met. The first time we met, we were in London. We were just sitting there talking, and we were like, "There's a better way to do this." That was 3 years ago, and we were just like, "Yeah, it's not the right time. Let's both kind of still grow ourselves, grow what we know here, and do things." And we just waited our time and took our time, and we're really patient about learning. Truly, my focus was I wanted to learn more than just the technical. I knew the technical stuff. I was fine there. It's like, let me learn the business because that's how it's going to actually work. Doesn't matter how technical skills I have. If I didn't understand how to run a business and have a business model, it didn't matter. So I focused on learning how does the business work? How do you interact with customers? I got really involved in sales because I wanted just to practice that muscle. And we waited our time. But yeah, we met together, worked together for 3.5 years. The greatest thing about working with my co-founder before this is we've argued before. We've disagreed before. So like, it's not new now when we have a disagreement, we're able to get through that and still maintain a good relationship. And I think that's so important in co-founder relationships. You have to be able to disagree and still continue on. Right.
I mean, I think that makes you stronger, like you just said. So, so you guys meet, you kind of start talking, you build this relationship, you realize that you have this shared vision to create something different, something better. And how did you have to go get funding? Did you do a venture capital? Did you bootstrap? Like, how did you get to a point where you could just say like bye to the other job and focus on your company?
Yeah, it was, in the startup world, funding is a thing. It's how companies get off the ground. And there's a lot of venture capital firms out there that would give you a lot of money for an idea, really just an idea. That's all you would have to have. We strategically did not raise venture capital. And it's mainly because we wanted, less money now means more control later. And that's what we're aiming for, is to be able to grow this. And that's one reason. But the second reason is we wanted to focus on our customers. And just for the audience, I'll give kind of a summary of what happens here. Is a startup goes out and they raise what would be called a seed round, which nowadays is anywhere between $1 and $5 million at times. The next round that they would raise is called a Series A. The problem that happens with a startup is after you raise that seed round, you have 18 months to give your first investor a return on their investment. So the whole thing you're focused on for those next 18 months is getting to this next Series A round to where you gave your investor a return on your investment. Guess what you're not focusing on? Your customers. You're just trying to get new customers and new customers and new customers, big logos, because that's the numbers that you need. Where we decided, let's focus on our customers first. Let's do this in a traditional manner. So we did raise a little bit of money from a friends and family, what we call like an angel round, very small amount to get things off the ground. And it's the harder path for sure. It's not easy to do it in a bootstrapped manner like this, where you're just really, every dollar counts. You're really looking at the numbers, but we think it's going to pay off in the long run. And our customers, I think early on, are benefiting from it, because I'm not spending 40% of my week with investors. I'm spending all my time with the customers and focusing on them and the product, which is really what I think our focus should be. I think the startup space over glamorizes raising money. It makes it like, oh, that's a huge accomplishment, right? And it's like, well, you just convinced somebody to give you money. I think the accomplishment is getting customers that are happy and that are enjoying your platform, and you're really growing that and focusing on that.
And you get to focus on making the company match your vision, not anybody else's.
Exactly.
I love it. So did you have clients lined up, or had you talked with potential clients before you like, if I did this, would you guys be interested? Or did you do market research? Like, how did you know that when you created this tool, which doesn't just happen overnight, it took time, effort, money, like what gave you the faith that if you build it, they will come?
Yeah, it was two things. I didn't think if I built it, they would come. I knew that I needed to do something to make sure people knew, but I knew there was a market, right? I was working as a consultant, so I saw all of these companies and I knew what they were paying because I was selling it. And I'm like, wow, you're paying a lot for this. I think there's a better way. And I just kept thinking about that. And I'm like, if I figure out how to do it on the product, I knew that, and I figured out how to get it in front of the right people, I knew that we would be fine, because the beauty of what we do is we're not convincing anyone to spend money that they didn't already allocate. They've already budgeted this money. So now we're just convincing them that we're the best person. So it's a little bit of an easier sell, where some folks are selling stuff that you have to convince them that they even have a problem and that they need to solve it, where we're just coming in and saying, like, we're a painkiller. They already know they have a problem. They're looking and they're shopping for that painkiller. We're just one of the many painkillers out there. But when I left my company, every startup book you read says, get out of the building, go talk to customers, right? And I left February 28th. So getting out of the building on March 7th changed, because COVID-19 was really, that's when everybody began in the US to see it. And I was like, well, I can't get out of the building. I have to get on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn's the only place that I can get on. And I strategically decided that I was going to build my brand on LinkedIn starting in March, to make sure that when we launched ByteChek later on, because we were going to build it in stealth mode throughout the whole summer to help build the product the right way and focus on things the right way. I wanted to make sure that I had a captive audience when we launched, that there was people that actually would care about what I'm talking about, because I knew the problem. I knew the product would be great. That's just, optimistic entrepreneur there. And I just knew I just needed to get the message out to people. And that's what, LinkedIn has played a huge role in our early growth. And I didn't have no customers lined up. I have a non-solicitation from my old firm, so I can't do any of that. And it was just me going out and saying, I'm going to build my brand. I'm going to build relationships with people. And early in the days, it was very easy to build that relationship, because I wasn't asking for anything. I was just like, I just want to get to know you. I didn't have anything to sell at the moment, but those have turned into long-term relationships. Some of them have turned into customers now, and it's just been LinkedIn. I would say, LinkedIn has been the hugest benefit for us as far as bringing in new folks.
I can't foot stomp on that enough. And how important it is that you build relationships and trust with your desired audience, whatever that is, first, before there's any ask. And if you do it well, you don't even have to ask. Exactly. You just tell people what you do and they come to you. And I don't think enough people get that. You see all these automated, selling, I'll get you leads, I'll get you all that stuff. And I'm constantly saying, if you're sending me these and that's how you're getting your leads, what makes you think you're good? Why would I think you're going to do any better with my stuff? Right. When in reality, it's just getting your employees, the members of your team engaged, building their trust with their community and opportunities. We buy from whom we trust.
Exactly.
So did you have a target of becoming a top voice?
No, I didn't. I followed you when I think I followed you from back when I was a while ago, but when I first started to get active on LinkedIn, obviously you're one of the biggest voices out there in the veteran community. So I was like, oh, LinkedIn top voice. And that's the first time I saw it was on your profile, actually. And I went and looked up what that was. And I had, just looking at my number, when I first got active in March, I had 900 followers on LinkedIn. And I don't know what I have now, but it's nowhere near what all of the other LinkedIn top voices have. So when I first got the message that I was nominated, I was like, this has to be a joke. This has to be like a game, or they're just trying to give me a nod for posting a lot maybe. And then when they told me that it actually happened, it was just insane. It was amazing. And it happened 4 days after we launched. So it was like perfect timing, but no intention. My only goal was throughout the summer was to grow those relationships, right? But also I was testing our value props. So I would do posts and I would say, hey, I wonder if people actually like this. And if it reacted well, I'd tuck that away and say, but later on in the summer or the fall, we're going to do that for ByteChek.
So do you actively connect with people? Like, do you make it a point to go and connect with people in different desired industries, companies, just to connect and so that they see your message? Or is it now like you just post and they come to you?
Yeah, I used to, in the summer, that's what my approach was. So my approach was to go out and add. I would get the little notification from LinkedIn that I was adding too many people every day.
Yep.
Because I would search for people with certs that I had or certs that I knew my target buyers would have. And I would just add them and get them in my community. And I would send every single person in the early days a thanks for connecting message.
I love it.
Just to build that relationship. And some of those messages turned into long-term relationships. Some of them, no one ever replied. And then like 7 months later, after LinkedIn Top Voice, I get a message from the person that never replied, and my message is right there. And it's like, hey, would love to have you on my podcast or something. It's like, great, would love to as well. But in the summer, it was targeted, definitely adding people. Nowadays, no, it's I don't know what's going on in my inbox. I don't know what's going on in my request. It's just all over the place.
Trust me, I get down there. I try very hard to keep up with mine. Now, look, we're 27 minutes in, and we haven't gotten to your day at work. Yeah. So I got to shift. I feel like I could talk to you for 2 hours. We definitely have to do this again.
Yeah.
So, tech entrepreneur, company launched in November of 2020, right?
Yep.
Like officially, formally launched. What do you do? Like, what's your day like? What's your time spent? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yep. So I wake up at 4:30 a.m. And that's because of two reasons. One, my days are now filled with calls or interviews or things like that. So to get work done, it has to be in the morning or in the evening. And I want to beat my kids up. You know, my kids are 4 and 3. My son wakes up at 6:30 every day. No matter what time he goes to sleep, he is faithful. So I have to get some work and coffee and workout in before they wake up. And in the morning, my focus is the product. I spend my any time that I have in the morning only on the product. That's fixing things, that's thinking about new features and what we're going to do there, making changes, all of the stuff that you would think about when it comes to software development. The rest of the day is a constant just chasing different things. Every person that we've interviewed through Hire Military, because we're bringing on a bunch of folks from there, I tell them like, you know, one day I may ask you to do something and 2 hours later, I may tell you that that's no longer a priority and you have to do something else. And that's just how the day is. So like today I have, I think 3 sales calls. This interview, I just got off of another call with one of our partners. I'm going into a team meeting here to give the team some direction for the week. And tomorrow is going to be completely different. It's going to be completely different where we're going to have different things going on. I'm trying to, as CEO, your real title right now, I think you know this, Mike, is Chief Evangelist Officer. You know, I just have to go out and talk a lot and get the message out there and make sure people know about ByteChek. And that's what I do. I'm trying, you know, I've been trying to write an article for a while. I just can't find the time to do it. And, you know, just trying, you know, as a CEO, you have every stress on you across the company. No matter how great your team is, you still are thinking about all of these things. My co-founder is great because he allows me to really be relaxed on certain things, like some of the operation stuff, so I can focus on the product, focus on our customers and things like that. But it's wild, I would say. You know, every day is just, it's a roller coaster, especially in the startup, especially when we're doing it the way that you and I have done this with not taking that big money. Is every win is humongous. It's the biggest win ever. And the losses hurt too. They hurt as good as those wins feel. That's the biggest thing about being a tech entrepreneur is the mental warfare, I would say. You have to be, which is why I meditate daily. And the reason is you have to be able to stay present and you have to be able to stay clear-minded because things change so fast. The marketplace is changing. Your competitors are doing something. You're worried about this. The product breaks, especially in software. Stuff always breaks. And you have to have that clear head. If not, it's really tough, especially as a young company like we are.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I kind of share with my team as they're, you know, taking some of my ideas and running with them or telling me, hold on, let's finish these other ideas before this one comes up.
Yeah.
I really find my number one role is I tell them, you know, granted, I'm an old guy, so I just say, you know, shaking hands and kissing babies, you know, like it's building trust, it's relationships, it's not selling, it's sharing. And you know, talking to people, and I find the more conversations you have, the more you engage, things come up. Like you said, it might not be today, and that's okay. I'm not trying to sell anything.
Exactly.
But 6 months, a year from now, you have a problem. You're like, well, doesn't Mike's team do that?
Yep.
Oh, Mike, it's the same thing with ByteChek. And I'll tell you, like I said, you started saying what you guys do. I'm like, we need to do this at some point. We're probably going to need to do it at some point with the amount of data we have.
Yep.
And the size of companies that we work with. And that's incredible. So biggest stressors for you. I want people to understand that from is it making sure you're covering salary for all your team? Is it growth? Is it what?
It's for me, it's always my people. I always want to make sure my people are good, and good means a lot of things. And that's just because I was raised by an NCO, and he taught me all the ways the most important thing ever is your people. So I deeply care about my people and are wondering about their days, how they're doing, because startups are stressful. Again, even for the consultants and the folks lower than me, that it's stressful for them. They're taking a big chance being here with us. So I'm constantly, and every other stressor comes back to them, growth, funding, the product breaking, customers being happy. It all comes back to, I want to make sure that all of these people that have invested in me and trusted me as their leader are not going to be in a situation that's leaving them worse off, but they're going to be better off. And that means not just financially. I really am big on making my team better. One of our core values is to invest in 10%. And that means you invest 10% of your week in yourself. And you can do meditation, you can do yoga, you can go for a walk, you can go play games, you can study for a cert. It doesn't matter. And we constantly ask each other, how are you spending your 10% this week? What are you doing? For me, it's golf. I go golf, and my co-founder does the same. I'll go spend the whole Friday morning playing around, and that's how I spend my 10%. But it's all about my people. For me, that's the stressor. That's the foundation of it all. I go to sleep at night feeling comfortable if I've talked to everybody on the team or if I interact with them and I see them and know that they're doing well. When I don't, I'm worried. And it just goes back to my time in the military. I just care so much about my soldiers then, and I care about my people now.
And I love the take care of your people and they'll take care of the mission mindset, number one. I will say that you must not be a great golfer if that's your 10%, because I know you're working more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
So that's a long round of golf.
Yeah. It's only 10% of 40 hours. I wish that was all I was working. I don't know what a weekend is anymore.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So I want people to see the glamour. Tech founder, you own your own company. I mean, I think they only see the iceberg, right? Yeah. How many hours a week?
I'm working, I would say 16, 17 hours a day. And that's on light day. That's when I go to sleep on time. And again, it's because during the day, I can't do a lot of work. I'm doing other things, so that you have to do all, and the work doesn't go away because you couldn't do it. It's still there. So night times and morning times are critical for me. And then weekends, I actually look forward to my weekends because I get long interrupted times with work. So I can spend, I spend my mornings with the kids, get them really tired. The goal is to get them down so they can nap. And then I spend the whole afternoon, 12 till 9 p.m., 10 p.m. working on the weekends. And it's long hours. It's tough, but when it's your own stuff, and you own it, it just doesn't even, it feels like you're just you're doing your responsibilities. You're just handling your business because that's what you're doing.
I saw a comment on one of my posts about work-life balance. I think it was Jessica Reynolds. She's a recruiter at L3 Harris Technologies. And I think she said something along the lines of, when your work is your passion, there's less of a distinction between work-life balance. It just blends.
Yep.
And you can do more and not feel more stressed and just integrate it with your life. And it sounds like that's what you've been able to find. I never heard it explained that way before, but the moment she said it, I was like, wow.
And I think it's so true because, you think about how much time you spend on work, right? Trying to separate that, trying to segment it off is only going to cause stress. It's only going to cause you to overly stress things. And if you realize all right, if I enjoy this and I enjoy spending my time doing this, let me just carve out time to do this and other things. And especially when you're doing something that you feel really some purpose behind and you see some reason behind it, it's easy to put in those hours because you know what the long-term play is on it as well. So yeah, I think work-life balance is a myth. I think people seek it. But what you should be seeking is just balance, just carve out your time and spend your time. A lot of people think about vacations or cruises. They're like, oh, it was so amazing to turn my phone off. Just turn your phone off then.
Right.
If you like turning your phone off, just turn it off. You have the power here, and you don't have to be on a cruise to do that. So people, I break hard. That's what I do. When I take a break, I take a break. I don't look at my laptop. I don't look at my phone. I get off of LinkedIn. I don't do anything. So then when I come back to work, I recharge and I'm ready to go. So those mornings on Saturdays with my kids, I'm with my kids. That's it. I'm going out. We went to the beach this past weekend, and we just do things, and that's what you have to do, I think, to get the true balance, is really take breaks. People don't take breaks. They go sit on the couch, but they're still on their phone, reading their emails, Slack messages, and all that. So you got to really take those breaks.
I would agree 100%. Mine's not quite go to the beach in the area and the snow and ice that's on the ground right now, but not snowing, going for a bike ride, for a 45-minute to an hour bike ride. It's not like I can talk on the phone while I'm doing that.
Right.
Or I go to the gym, and I'm not one of those people that's just sitting in between sets on their phone. Like, I go and I get a workout, and I find that when I just focus on the exercise, it really recharges my brain in a way when I disconnect. Because when I'm sitting on the couch and there's a commercial, I pick this darn thing up because I don't want to watch the commercial.
Exactly.
We had a question real quick. I know we're running a little bit late, but we had Betty wanted to know, how long did it take to get where you are at now?
I would say, what's 2021? 10 years. The time that I was a second lieutenant, or 11 years from the time as a second lieutenant until now, is, that Army time was critical for me. I had a friend tell me that the other day. They're like, oh yeah, man, you only had to work in that field for 3 years. I'm like, whoa. I was in the military for almost 7 years before that. Like, that was time, that was learning. So yeah, about 11 years, it takes a long time to become what you would consider an expert on something. It takes a lot of hours and experiences. And I commissioned in 2010, and it's been a journey since.
I love the way you phrased that. You've got to factor in that time. You wouldn't be where you are today without those 7 years of foundational experience in the Army. So that's incredible. Well, AJ, obviously I could probably talk to you for another hour. I wish we were in the same location, and when COVID's over, maybe we'll have to get together for a cold beverage sometime. Absolutely. I'd love to hear more, but I guess a couple questions. One, if anybody's watching this and they want to reach out for advice, compliance help, whatever it is, are they welcome to reach out to you on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. I may take a little bit to respond. Like I said, the messages are long, but I do aim to respond to most people that write me. And if I can help you, I still carve out 4 hours a week to mentor and advise people. And I have a meeting link that I set up for people to book time to do that. So if you reach out to me, you can have that link, and we'll schedule time. We'll meet. I'll chat with you. I'll help you out in any way I can. So yeah, LinkedIn is the only social network I'm really on. So it's the best place to reach me.
I'm the same way. So that's fantastic. And then I guess number two, if we close it out, what's your advice to anybody transitioning that wants to go into the tech or compliance industry, IT compliance?
Yep. I guess 3 pieces. One, get on LinkedIn and get active. Active doesn't mean you're liking posts. It means you're commenting, you're doing things, you're actually engaging with people in your community. Sign up for the free LinkedIn Premium as a vet. You get that. So do that first. Second, in that activity, you're going to find people that you can talk to, especially vets, and get a mentor. And tell them what you're interested in, and they're going to give you some direction, and listen to your mentor. When they tell you, hey, this cert is really important, or the cloud is really important. So yes, that too. I did ACP during my transition, and I was partnered with a gentleman out of Idaho that worked at John Deere. We would have never have met in our lives, but he was so critical in me being ready for interviews. So yes, ACP is huge, and I love that program. And I would say, go to higher military. If I knew about the DoD Skill Bridge program, I would have participated in it. Like 100%, it would have been a no-brainer. And we're hiring people from this program right now at ByteChek, and it's been amazing. It's exactly what I thought. Veterans are getting to come here that have great skills, and they're getting a chance to have a great experience. But for me, for ByteChek, we're getting skilled, quality people that are vets that know their stuff and are hungry. And not everybody that's coming to us to work in this field has certs or even has worked in tech. It's just people that are hungry to learn about it. So you can do the same thing as a transitioning person, is find a company that's willing to invest in you, because it's not that big of an investment for the company, to be quite honest. It's more of an investment for you to show up and do what you can to secure a long-term position. So definitely look into the Skill Bridge program. Don't think it's going to be, a lot of vets I talk to, it's going to be too hard with my command. That's why there's Hire Military. They help out with that stuff. So if you're a transitioning vet, the Skill Bridge program has to be, like, I would say, mandatory. Like, please do it. It's going to change your life and change your perspective on the transition.
And I would add, so thank you. The Hire Military story was the same thing that you started your company. Literally, I had people reaching out to me saying, I wasn't selected for an internship. I can't find one. I'm approved. What do I do? And I'm like, well, call companies. They're like, what do I say? I'm like, what do you mean, what do you say? And I realized they don't know how to explain these things. They don't know how to talk, in ways that companies understand. They don't understand the Fair Labor Standard Act. And then a lot of times people didn't understand how to explain it to their commanders. And so my advice, if anyone's interested in the DoD Skill Bridge program and they're still serving, from a service member perspective, don't accept no until you get to the 06 level. For most services, the 06 level, maybe 05, is who approves. So everybody below that is just given their opinion. It's an open door policy for a reason, and you've already made a decision to get out. So don't let that platoon sergeant, that platoon leader, that company commander, that first sergeant, any of them say no. If they say no, explain it to them and take it to the next level. And that's why we've got a whole bunch of E9s that like to have those conversations with leaders and kind of explain why the best recruiting tool for the military is the well-transitioned service member.
100%. 100%. I see. I just want to shout out Braden Williams. He was in Captain's Career Course with me over at Fort Gordon. Really great guy, somebody I know well. So it's cool to see somebody I served with here in the chat. It's pretty awesome.
It is a small world indeed. Well, AJ, we are. This is now the longest one I've ever done for the Day at Work series. No surprise there for me. Really fantastic to talk. If there's anything I can do, reach out. And I'm excited to see those interns get the opportunity of a lifetime with you.
Yeah, we can't wait. We can't wait for them to start. Got a couple starting here in a few weeks, so it's exciting. Thanks a lot, Mike. Appreciate the time.
Have a great day.